All right, I'm back with another list breakdown for our new world with our new crises and what I've been experimenting with lately. And I've got a pretty exciting, pretty interesting list for you. This is a criminal syndicate list, and just like last video, we are going to start with the crises because this is what's different.
Okay, just let me know when you start.
We're already rolling, just say the thing.
Hello, are you tired of other wargamers telling you, an MCP player, that you have no friends? Well, come on down to Squad Goals, where you and your two very real friends can play MCP together in this all new,
It's not new.
in this very team format. Come on down to Chicago.
It's in Niles.
Come to close to Chicago in May.
3rd and 4th.
3rd and 4th for all the MCP excitement. And if you fall into that old MCP stereotype of having no friends, don't worry. Hop on Alfredo's Discord and trick 2 people into becoming your friend.
Tell them about the website.
Just go to the website squadgoalsmcp.com. Sign up today.
Ugh. So this is a Kingpin-focused criminals list. Our secures are Superpowered Scoundrels, Deadline to Destruction, and Riots Spark over Extremis. Superpowered Scoundrels and Riots are 2 of the most popular crises for Kingpin because the second half of Kingpin leadership says that you count double when scoring on your healthy side. So Superpowered Scoundrels grants cover and is 5 points, and so helps you stay on your healthy side. Riots Sparks is 4 points and wide, so it's hard to get purchase on you, and the secure heals you, so it's easy to stay healthy. 2 of the most popular ones there. And then we're playing Deadline to Destruction, which is the new one. This is the one that deals damage to people carrying extracts. I think this is really interesting in Kingpin. The reason that Kingpin, I think, is good at this crisis is because of how the interaction with his damage reduction and the crisis works. So the crisis essentially says either drop your extract or take a damage and gain a power. It's not take a damage then gain a power or gain a power for every damage you take, meaning that the 2 clauses are not connected. So if you don't take the damage, you still get the power. This means that Kingpin is functionally immune to the crisis because if he's holding an extract and someone uses Deadline on him, he pays 1 power, he gains 1 power. Or he pays 1 power to prevent the damage, then gains 1 power from the crisis, essentially setting the board state to exactly identical as it was before the button was pushed, except that your opponent has paid a power. Fantastic. Our main splash for this list is going to be Juggernaut, who has the same ability. I think this makes Deadline a really interesting replacement for any of the other crises that Kingpin is potentially very good at. So there are essentially 2 other secures that could go in the slot of Deadline. They are Infinity Formula and Cosmic Vaults. I like Deadline to Destruction over them because it's closer in shape, and then the extra power gain of the other crises I think are actually net negatives for Kingpin, even though Kingpin is like a low power faction, or a lot of the Kingpin pieces struggle with their power economy because like they're constantly paying to prevent damage, and so they don't gain power from taking damage the way that other characters do, and they often tend to be more pillow-fisted because a lot of their power budget is in their durability. But I find that like Infinity Formula, giving a power to my opponent every single turn, tends to net benefit them more than me because it accelerates their ability to play offense. And it accelerates their mobility tactics so that they can get on my characters easier. So I think with that, I think the Deadline is actually the best crisis to be playing here, especially with our kind of gimmicks to get around it. And then also on top of the damage reduction, as we're about to explore, one of the things that is really good about Kingpin is actually passing the extracts around. And if you can pass them to places where people can't threaten them with Deadline or move them to more healthy characters, you can really limit how much your opponent can use Deadline against you while still being able to leverage it against them. So let's talk about our extracts. So one of the unique things about very, very good Kingpin players, I think I'm going to try to link it here, but one of the best players I've seen play Kingpin is Graham. There's a video linked that will show you a game of his from Second Win a couple years ago, where he really, really plays the first half of the Kingpin leadership very, very well. And I actually think that's what separates good Kingpin players from great Kingpin players, is how well they play the passing the extracts thing. So with that in mind, I want to build this roster to do that, to control the extract game very, very well, and use the extract passing a lot. So with that in mind, our crises are Spider Infected, Struggle for the Cube, and the new Terrigen Canisters. These are the 3 F-shaped crises that are all 5 extracts. This means that no matter what, if we're on our extracts, there are 5, making for a very, very fast game. It is very hard for a game to go more than 4 turns when there's 5 extracts, especially in the current meta where there's only a few secures that are only 3. So with that in mind, a big plan of this roster is it is going to try to pick its extracts every chance that it gets. If the opponent has pay-to-flips and dead extracts, the correct course of action with this list is to pick your extracts and pay the pay-to-flip. Because you put that many more points on the board, and Kingpin, while the Kingpin leadership, the second half of the Kingpin leadership, often seen as the more powerful part of the leadership, does not work at all in pay-to-flips, your team is still good enough at pay-to-flips that having the extract be as live as possible and playing the extract part of the leadership as well as possible means that you can absolutely still win those games. They will be difficult, but you can still win them. And then if your opponent is playing like very live extracts, like there's a couple Guardians lists right now that really like Senators because it's so sticky in the middle. So if they're like Senators, Hammers, something else that's not Senators, Hammers, like, I don't know, Inhuman Weapons is like a pretty standard set for some of the Guardians lists running around right now. I think there you can, and they have pay-to-flips on the other side, you can absolutely take your secures. But we're going to largely try to pick our extracts here, especially because we want to do our safe grab, and we want to be 3-2 to start on extracts with our strong, secure advantage. And just try to leverage that into a win. Go up 1 point turn 1, and then use our second half of our leadership to just absolutely dominate early scoring, get out to a big lead, and close the game before they can really turn the nutrition on. All right, so with that, let's talk about the crises specifically, even though they're all very similar. So Spider Infected is the most frustrating crisis, as infected movements can be very, very punishing, especially in a team like this that does have movement like skills, but Kingpin specifically doesn't. And Kingpin will end up holding a Spider Infected, and it can be frustrating to either get staggered or drugged to your death by a Spider Infected. Your opponent also has this problem. I think it affects them more than you, but also it's just about getting as many points on the board as possible. Struggle for the Cube is very interesting in that it creates a lot of like difficult. So Kingpin can reduce the damage here, as can Juggernaut. And when to reduce the damage and when to take the damage for the extra power is like a very difficult decision, and you really have to keep your eye on it. And then it's also it's the one crisis we have that stacks. So it's one of the few extracts left that you can stack on one player. This actually makes your leadership better because you can constantly just be throwing things back to Kingpin or some other person that's back point sitting. And it opens up a lot of options there, whereas often you like can't throw an extract to the person you want to throw the extract to because they're already holding one. This lets you stack them all on one character. Who cares? Just like put them to the safest character. The downside is that while we do have steals, it can be frustrating if like Hulk gets 4 of the cubes and like we just don't reliably kill him. And once once Robbery is played, we have really no drop all for Hulk. So that's cubes. So those two classic ones. Let's talk about the new one, Terrigen Canisters. My God, I think this is Kingpin's best extract by a mile. I actually think this is Kingpin's best scenario. I think it's even better than Scoundrels for Kingpin. A lot of people are really worried about Kingpin and the poison that you get when you pick up this. So if you're not that familiar with Terrigen, essentially, when you pick it up, you roll your physical dice. You need a crit or a wild. If you don't get those, you take poison. Essentially, it's a scroll roll, but instead of being pushed, you take poison. It ends up not mattering that much. So first of all, we have a lot of our characters are for physical defense, which means that we're pretty likely to succeed at the roll. But even then, the 1 to 2 power it will cost you over the course of the game is not that big of a deal. And also, none of our characters, when they pick up an extract, will then have important skills online the next turn that poison would deny. So, if we're looking for, a classic example would be, a Spectacular Spider-Man type character that has, a 2-cost, teleport that they really want online. But if they picked up an extract and then got poisoned, it's going to be on 0 power next turn. But if they had just picked up the extract, they'd be on 1 power next turn. Meaning that it doesn't really, the poison is not that big of a deal. It doesn't unlock the gate the way that it should. And on the characters it most impact, which are Kingpin and Black Cat, we're picking up that extract on them so that they can acquire power from the opponents, because the opponents have to come attack them. And it hurts that Kingpin will probably end up taking 1 extra damage because he has no power at the top of the turn. But I think that's not that big of a deal, the way that a lot of people are very worried and taking a lot of poison immune models on this crisis. I don't think that's a big worry here. The big worry for this crisis is it makes your speed short. This is a very important distinction. It's not as powerful as the slow condition. The slow condition says you can only use the short movement tool. This crisis makes your speed short. So when you're taking a move action, you move short. If you have something like Zemo's Steel Rush that moves him medium after an attack, you can still move medium because that's not using your speed. It's just, so if a rule says move this far, you can still do that. But if you are using a movement action to move, you go short. So a charge would move you short. Something that says go long would still let you go long. So you could play Shield Mobile and still go long. Whereas if you're slow, you can't do that. A bunch of our characters are just immune to this crisis. And a bunch of our fast characters are immune to this crisis. So let's go over it. Obviously, Kingpin, already speed slow, immune to this crisis, but he's a slow character, fine. Juggernaut, speed slow, but the fastest man on Earth, does not care at all that he is speed slow. Rhino, fastest man on Earth, does not care that he's speed slow. The Wrecking Crew, pretty darn fast model, does not care that it's speed slow. And then we can use the leadership to move these around. So if Black Cat picks this up and then needs to go long somewhere on the other end of the table, pay 2 power, throw it to Kingpin, throw it to Juggernaut, throw it to the Wrecking Crew, throw it to Rhino, get where you need to go. This makes us very, very good at this crisis, where a lot of teams can struggle. For example, X-Men really struggle at this crisis because they rely a lot on being above average speed to be able to play their pay-to-flip game. This really hurts them. And then the Storm Hop that also helps them make up for it when they get slowed or they have a character that's out of position. You can't Storm Hop when you're holding an objective, so that helps them not at all with Terrigen Canisters. This is definitely our best extract. I think it might be our best crisis. All right, so let's get into the actual roster here. We have Kingpin. We've already talked about it, but the extract part of the leadership is so important to playing Kingpin well. And again, watch this Asgard game, or this Asgard CS game that I'm linking, where Graham plays against one of the Montreal Shark Tank players, and really, really shows off how strong the Kingpin moving the leadership or moving the extracts around can be. Okay, then we have Black Cat. Black Cat is easily the best 3 in the faction. I've played her every single game I've played. I don't think you ever leave home without her. Like, there might literally be a time, but I can't think of what it is. We are, spoiler alert, splashing Spectacular Spider-Man here. So we're playing Cat and the Spider as our safe grab, because it's the least committed safe grab that we can purchase. Because even though it's 6 points and a card, we're playing 3 points of that every game anyway. So that means that having that safe grab isn't that expensive for us, and it is the least costly. Also, for a long time, I thought the Cat and the Spider safe grab was kind of problematic, because you grab it with Cat, and then Cat just holds it all game, and you get no value out of Cat. But that's not really how it functions. It's that you go and you grab the extract, and then they have to get it off of Cat. Which means attacking Cat, giving Cat power, so that she can then wake back up, steal a thing, and get out. If they don't do that, you spend your time staggering people. She'll make her points back. Black Cat is also much tankier than she appears. The no crits, no rerolls means that a lot of the stuff that should be really good at killing her isn't. You obviously have to look out for throws, but you have Brace for the first one. And she's really good in that aspect. I also think she's very good at threatening. So let's say we lose priority and they pick their secures because they want to play their pay to flips or whatever. And then so we're on a 5-wide F extract. Black Cat threatens the Widow style walk along, pick up their extract. And should live through 2 5-dicers. So if you can get her on the weaker flank, she should live, especially against some of the more pillow-fisted factions, or the factions that rely on rerolls to do all of their damage. And she's stealth, so if they're standing on the deployment line, they need to walk to come shoot her. So Black Cat, incredible, fantastic model. Bullseye is the best 2-thread in our faction. He's just a really, really good generalist. He can do damage if you need him to do damage. He can do kind of a poor man's impression of Toad with parting shot, standing in for slippery, and then just being slightly less durable than Toad on the front side, and then more durable than Toad on the back side, but also threatening to turn the power you give him into killing models. Bullseye's incredible. We have Killmonger next. Killmonger is also CS affiliated. I think this is just kind of the best model AMG has maybe ever designed. It's definitely the most fun, I think. I just think his mechanic of killing opponents and getting kill count tokens and trying to set up a usurp are just really interesting puzzles. And then the character's fragile, especially for his threat, only 11 health, 433, but is incredibly dangerous if he can double tap. And I think he's really important for us in matchups where you're trying to score out, or where they're trying to score out, into Web Warriors or in the mirror. Killmonger being able to give you 2 points to put you over the top to win, or being able to use 2 points to claw their way back into it while dazing an important model is really fantastic. Every time I've played him into the Webs matchup, he has been an absolute all-star because they don't consistently kill him without all webbed up. And you can use All According to set him up and steal priority and get an excellent usurp. If you need it, we also have Cruelty to guarantee it. So you have 3 attacks to get it done. You have the main builder, you have a Cruelty, and you have whatever your final attack is that's buffed by Focused on the Kill. And then Killmonger's also really important in Midnight Suns, as we're largely physical attacks. Across the board, we have a little bit of Mystic, and having an energy attacker that can really threaten to put Blade down and put down whatever 5 they're splashing. You just have to be kind of careful about the usurp plan if they have iHulk, as you can fall into kind of the iHulk trap. But I don't know, scoring 2 points is pretty good, and he does an absolute metric buttload of damage. Then we have Ulik. Ulik is a bit of a meta pick here. I think Hulk is the best model in the current packet, and I'm not playing Hulk. I was very tempted to, but I want a Juggernaut as my main splash for the deadline plan. So that means there's not really room to splash a 6 threat if our main plan splashes a 5 threat. And spoiler alert, I don't think super tall is super strong right now. And I don't think it's ever been super strong in Kingpin where like each body is 2. So if we're going tall in Kingpin, I don't know why we're here. So instead we're splashing anti-Hulk tech. Ulik is very, very good into Hulk in that his wilds can push size 4s off the point. So Hulk comes over, he's like, I own this point. Ulik hops over and takes 2 attempts at his 50 or at his 55%er to hit his wild, and he just gets to push Hulk off the point. If he gets to activate before Hulk, he can threaten to Shatter Mountains, Shatter Bones, which if he whiffs it, staggers Hulk, which is great. And if he hits the trigger, which I think is like 35 or 40% without any modifications to it, and you know, like we don't have Dark Rain, we're CS, he activates Hulk. And activating 6th threat of their list into the extreme scoring pressure that Kingpin can put on can just be game winning. Like you can just like go for the 40%er and you know like your fail state is still Hulk is severely neutered, and your succeed state is you win the game. So I think Ulik's really, really good here. Also, a thing about this roster and All According to Plan is that it doesn't wield All According to Plan terribly well, and Ulik and Killmonger are like 2 of the best characters to wield that. And so having that threat when you, if you feel like you need the All According threat, that might be a spot where you play Ulik over Juggernaut. Next up, we have Shocker. Shocker is definitely sitting in the 10th slot in this roster. I think of him as the second best 3 threat in CS, and definitely the best 3 threat that interacts with Kingpin. There's like maybe an argument to play like one of the crossbones here, but I just think the short move and the small base is so detrimental here that like, I don't know, having the deadline goof with crossbones 1, I don't think is really that helpful. So I think I like Shocker here. As the second best 3. There are a couple weird threat bands where you want the 3 threat, and I think one of them is at 19 on intrusions. A lot of the intrusions teams are fighting teams. Some of these intrusion teams tend to be taller, and by and like tall these days is like 4 wide, not 3 wide. But when somebody sticks you with intrusions, you get your extracts, and you can say 19, and then you play something like Kingpin, Cat, Wrecking Crew, Shocker, Ulik. That's 5 characters into their 4 or 5 characters, and all of your characters have stagger. That can be absolutely ball busting, on top of it being intrusions. So whatever point Shocker is standing on is like your safe point, because any character that comes through the portal will be down a dice. And then you can also more freely wield the portals because you can throw the objective and then hop through the portal and not have to drop it. So you can create really strong board states on using Shocker on a crisis that is bad for you. So that's why he's sticking around. I'm definitely open to playing something else here. And if you really don't believe me or you're not willing to commit to the pure Kingpin plan, this could come out for Daredevil so that you have the second leader. And I definitely think in the current meta that Daredevil is stronger than MODOK 2. But maybe, I don't know, maybe you're a MODOK 2 person and you want to play MODOK 2 here. That's fine too, whatever. All right, moving on. We've got Wrecking Crew. Wrecking Crew, one of the newest additions to CS. He's a fast model, unaffected by Terrigen. He is so it's awkward, or it's unintuitive, that a model that has 3 gainers and wants to spend 6 power every turn might be flush with power, but it happens to Wrecking Crew a bunch. And I think that Wrecking Crew, because of this, can really wield the leadership very well by passing extracts and stuff around. And he's also a character that would like to get the extracts because they are short mover, and so they're unaffected by Terrigen, and they are very fast, and so like you can throw an extract back to them and then they can get out very quickly. Or they can get very far away, rather. There's also a cute little 10 power trick you can do with Wrecking Crews. So let's say Wrecking Crews on 10 power. You can attack with, let's say Wrecking Crews on 10 power. All right, so you can attack somebody with Indestructible. You can pay for Let's Take 'em Down, boys. And then after the Let's Take 'em Down, boys has resolved, you can then gain the power from the Indestructible, because Indestructible says gain 1 power after the attack is resolved. Let's Take 'em Down, boys has the same timing window of after the attack is resolved, so you can stack your triggers so you get the power after and it doesn't like go to waste because you're at 10 power. Just be clear to announce that. It's like a little tiny bit of optimization, but it's super cute and can be super helpful in a team, like, because if you're playing Wrecking Crew's card, you can spend 9 of that power. And if you want to be doing things the next turn, every power counts, plus, you might be playing All According, and Wrecking Crew often dumps their load to play All According. Again, so we talked about this a little bit when we talked about my Midnight Suns roster last year, and Wrecking Crew were brand new, but walking down the triggers is not really how you play Wrecking Crew. It can be useful, but it's not the plan, because you're not that likely to, you're very likely to hit the hit trigger, and then you're not that likely to hit the stagger trigger, although you are, but when you stack those two chances together, it's like a 75%er and then a 55%er and then a 25%er, assuming you don't have any bonus dice from destroying terrain with the beam. So it can be really hard to walk down that, but you might do it accidentally, as there are other characters in this roster that do stun and other characters in this roster that do stagger. So you might just have targets of opportunity where Black Cat staggered a model and now you can beam them and throw them. So don't necessarily try to walk down the triggers. Think of his modes as what thing do I need to do right now? Do you want to limit a character's access to power, try to stun them? If you need to, the main reason to do the second attack, the 6 die that does stagger, is actually because it pushes on damage. And that's the main way that Wrecking Crew is going to play the Kingpin game of pushing people off the points, is by trying to damage them with the 6 die attack. So really they zip around, they spray to try to get a bunch of power, and then they try to push people off of points with the middle attack with the 6 die that doesn't build power. And you can get a second shot at that by using Let's Take 'em Down, boys. Overall, I'm really happy with them, but they are on the weaker side of this roster, mostly because they're competing with the other really good 4 threats in the list of Killmonger and Rhino. And then, so if this was a slot you wanted to open up, you wanted to try some Mephisto stuff, I think I'd be open to that, but I haven't super explored it, and I really like Wrecking Crew. I think they belong here. I think their card's really good, especially when you're playing a lot of stagger and you stagger somebody and then you throw them long away. It can just be backbreaking. All right, then we're playing Rhino. Rhino's a super fast model, unaffected by Terrigen. Robbery got nerfed a while back. It used to cost 2 power, now it costs 4 power, but it's still super strong. It just kind of changes how you play the card. Rhino now plays, or I think the optimal way to play Rhino is in a much more cat style way, or how we described cat playing Cat and the Spider earlier, where you try not to play the card until he flips. You commit Rhino, you beat a bunch of people up, and then when he flips, you steal the extracts, and then you spend your actions getting out. I think that's a lot better because Rhino can sometimes bump into just being completely power starved. He's a very feast or famine character. Either Rhino has no power or he has all of the power. And that's because of he gets a lot of power from being attacked, but struggles to build it and can spend it very, very quickly. But Rhino, very, very good. I actually don't play that much of him in the roster because I'm playing so much Juggernaut and so much Cat. So when we're playing Cat, Kingpin, Juggernaut, Spider-Man is the 4 most played models in this roster, and we kind of dial in the last slot. And so as a result, we don't play as much Rhino as we maybe should. And also there are definitely games where Juggernaut sits at home. Don't get me wrong, we play Rhino. But he is not the every game piece that some people feel that he is, at least for me. Oh, also, just Rhino is very good at pay to flips too. He's really good at like zipping around to all the points, and sometimes he has all the power in the world, and he can just like make 4 flip attempts, and it's like not that difficult. All right, our 2 splashes are Juggernaut and Spectacular Spider-Man. We've talked a little bit about them already, but Juggernaut, he is a fast model unaffected by Terrigen. He's also immune to Deadline. Makes him very, very strong. He's also, so Juggernaut saw a ton of play when he came out, and then he fell off as these new big models came into the meta, where things like Cosmic Ghost Rider, Malekith before the nerf, Thor, just kind of like bodied this character super hard, like just very, very easily killed this character, and then this character just does 1 day 8 die attack to them and doesn't really affect them that much. You have to be a little bit careful about playing him into Hulk, as Hulk can really abuse your team with Juggernaut. If you play well and you like position Kingpin near Juggernaut so they can really only throw Juggernaut into Kingpin, and Kingpin is like immune to collision damage from characters, you can mitigate that problem and have Juggernaut do okay into Hulk, but you're much better off playing Ulik. I understand that if you don't agree with the meta call of Ulik, or Hulk's not in your meta, cutting Ulik from the roster is like very doable, and then just kind of dealing with playing Juggernaut into Hulk on the rare occasion that it comes up for you, I think is okay. Oh, Juggernaut also has a very interesting pseudo safe grab that you can do that is good into the Pillow Fisted teams like Web Warriors. If you put Kingpin directly across from like a middle extract, and then Juggernaut walks to that extract and stands as far back as he can, there's a little bit of wiggle room. There's not a lot though. He can then throw the extract back to Kingpin, because he walks, gains 2 power, putting him on 3 power, walks again to be in range, spends 1 to pick it up, spends 2 to pass it back to Kingpin. Or it can be another medium base model, like he could do it to Shocker, he could do it to any of the bigger base models like Crew, but it doesn't work to a small base. That's how like tight this window is. Sometimes it's blocked by terrain, but it can be a really useful alternative to playing Cat and the Spider, especially if your tactics cards are tight, or if you don't have room for Spectacular, as I would much rather play like Juggernaut and Killmonger into Web Warriors than I would Spectacular, although I do play Spectacular into Web Warriors. Finally, we have Spectacular Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man is mainly here because of enabling the safe grab with Cat and the Spider, but also Spectacular Spider-Man is just an incredibly strong piece. People will accuse me of being shield pilled here because I just take models that are in shield and I put them in every list. That's what I do. But I actually think Spectacular Spider-Man is just very, very strong. The splash here is a little bit strange in that most people that are splashing Spectacular Spider-Man are doing so because they're able to cheat power onto him. And the thing that makes Spectacular Spider-Man balanced is that he does not have vast access to power and can't spike into it because he lives in gainer land. We're not doing that, but it turns out when Spectacular Spider-Man counts as 2 characters, it means that if he can commit to a point after models have activated, he can go take a thing that has 2 characters on it and go win that point with just 3 powers. Like walk, throw a character off that point. It's mine now because I count as 2. It can just be very, very strong and very hard for your opponent to play around, which means often they have to try to kill Spectacular, which means he gets power and you can like go ham sandwich. All right, let's talk about our tactics cards. Hey, look, I'm playing a roster where I'm playing Brace for Impact because it's the best card in the game. And it's damage reduction, a team that cares about being tanky. Woohoo! Brace for Impact, ah! Then I'm playing Sacrifice as my second one. Redirecting damage can be really important. You know, it can really save your team from awful fates and let you activate all your models or keep somebody healthy for longer or protect an extract holder. There are arguments that this could be fallback as we're playing some wide secures. But again, the main plan is to be on our extracts, so that's not as relevant. And then I think there's an argument that this could be patch up because we have a lot of high hit point models. But again, our access to power is a little bit limited. It's also really hard to afford patch up and all according. Although I would argue you probably don't play those both at the same time. But yeah, Brace Sacrifice is probably my single biggest crutch in Marvel Crisis Protocol, but it's also very strong. So this is where I'm at. All right, we're playing all according to plan, the iconic Criminal Syndicate card, but we actually don't play it that often. It's mostly because we will often play rosters that don't have a good top of the turn character. Where like if this character activates first when we don't have when we normally don't have priority, I can make a big impact. We're really not that. We're trying to like go last and just like score all the points. So don't be afraid to like leave this at home. But if you are bringing it, Killmonger and Ulik are probably the two biggest ones that can really wield this well, but Rhino and crew can as well in a pinch, especially if they're loaded up on power. We're playing Usurp the Throne. Oh, one of the things about this roster of characters is half of the characters in this roster have just insane tactics cards. So we're playing 5 of our 10 tactics cards, our character tactics cards, with the first one being Usurp the Throne. Important into the webs matchup. I like it in the mirror. It can be good in the Midnight Suns matchup. You just have to be careful with it because of like playing it directly into iHulk. But I think you're playing Killmonger into them all the time, and if that's the case, you probably are looking to have some kind of usurp play. I have Cruelty. Cruelty is one of my on the bubble cards. It's mostly here to help with Usurp the Throne or where we're playing a roster that doesn't have that many character cards. It can just be really expensive to include, but Cruelty's here is like a safety mechanic. We have Cat and the Spider. This is my safe grab. It's really good. An important thing to keep in mind on Terrigen Canisters specifically is that after Cat picks it up, she only goes away short, so you have to be very careful about whether this is a good idea on Terrigen Canisters based on the matchup. She can still get quite far away, where like a medium-based medium mover can't get within 3 of her in a single walk. But if anybody's faster than that, or they have like a charge gimmick, you have to be very, very careful about this. Think about whether or not the Kingpin plan or the Juggernaut plan is better, but Cat and the Spider's great. Excellent on the other 2 safe grabs, always. Usually good on Terrigen, just be careful. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am is a wild card. It can be played out of activation, so you can throw. So if Juggernaut can like tack on to any given activation, if you like leave somebody on 1 health, you can throw them with Juggernaut. You can throw something at them with Juggernaut if you leave them on a couple, like suddenly they're taking a size 4 to the face. Just be careful not to trade it for Brace. The card's so much better than, or the card should be much better than Brace, or you should be able to get more value out of it than just collecting their Brace for impact. So make sure you do that. And then there's also when Juggernaut flips, so on his backside, he loses his high Mystic defense, and he has a character throw that throws medium size 3s. So there are some really interesting like double throw lines you can take. I did a like throw Bill from one side of Juggernaut to the other side of Juggernaut and then throw him long with the card. So he was just like out in the middle of nowhere. Do you know who I am? Really, really wild and strong card. We have This Is a Robbery. Still really strong after the nerf. Like we talked about before, Rhino usually plays this best if you play it after you daze, but obviously there's exceptions to everything. Stronger Together. I really like Stronger Together. It's sizeless, which means you can throw very, very big stuff very, very far away. Like, get out of here, Sentinels. And it gives crew another way to kind of do the Kingpin thing. So you can potentially triple clear a point if you like have... I don't know, like if you have 6 power, you can slide over to a point, 6 die one guy off, 6 die the other guy off the point, and then the last guy, and then pay for take him down, lads, and spray and get 3 power, and then throw the other guy off the point, or some combination of that. It can be really, really good. It also has range 4 for some reason, so if you just like go beam, beam, and then you can throw the guy medium away, if like them getting to you is a big deal, that can be really, really impactful. It's really interesting. There's like some really wild lines you can do with the card. And then lastly, we have Recalibration Matrix. It's our poor man's Odin's Blessing, usually used to kind of save our character from a spike when it happens. It can sometimes be tough to have the power to play the card. And then also be careful, there's like a weird interaction with Black Cat, where if they spike Black Cat, They're like, 5 hits on Black Cat. You can't play Recal to fix that because they can't. They are re-rolling the dice. It's not you making them re-roll the dice. So they're locked to it. It's better when they like roll like 2 hits and Black Cat's on like I don't know. It's like they roll 2 hits, Black Cat's on 2 health. You roll no blocks. You can play Recal to try to find 1 block to keep Cat alive. All right, so that's the list. Matchup wise, I think this list is very doesn't have super bad matchups across the board. I've struggled the most with Midnight Suns. Mostly because my first game into it, I didn't know to play Killmonger. And I've lost some very close games to X-Men on pay-to-flips. But again, I'm playing the best X-Men player in the world. These were to Nate. And they were games that I lost by 1. So give the list a spin. In the comments down below, tell me what you think of Kingpin only. Is it as viable in the meta as I think it is? And don't forget that fun is a finite resource.